The majority of your items in Fallout are likely to come from looting, whether it be an enemy's corpse, ammo boxes, gun cabinets, bartering with merchants, etc. You're pretty much always going to get your items from looting. But there's also some really weird ways to loot for items. That's why today I'm going to be asking if you can beat Fallout New Vegas with only items from mailboxes. I thought it would be funny to name my character the Mailman and then proceed to turn around and make it a female character because haha funny. I made my special stats mainly focusing on strength and endurance because I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get a gun this run, so I wanted to make sure that I had damage. I chose unarmed, medicine, and survival as my tag skills because I wanted any and all medical supplies to heal me as much as possible. My traits were ranger and skilled for an extra point in agility and skills. I then promptly littered in Doc Mitchell's house by dropping every single item that the game starts me with on the floor. Nope, I wasn't going to be using any of those this run, because it's not from a mailbox. Out into Good Springs, I, again, can't really barter with Chet or anything, since, not a mailbox, so I ran around looking at the mailboxes in Good Springs. For the most part, they were pretty useless, but I did find a couple items, such as magazines, that would be helpful later, although I didn't end up actually using any of them, so, we'll deal with that later, though. I did find some junk in some of the mailboxes, and I want to take a second before we get too far into this to list out some rules. I can only use weapons, ammo, whatever it may be that comes from a mailbox. I will be allowing myself to buy a single suit of leather armor that is non-reinforced and use that for the run because I didn't really feel like doing the run without armor, which I did buy from Chet, so that was nice. And I then set out for Prim, because Prim was the other only spot that I knew of early on that would have mailboxes to loot for potentially a weapon. My first victim on the way to Prim was this young gecko who got in my way, so I promptly fisted him. The convicts were pretty terrifying as I didn't have much in the way of armor since my leather armor was pretty much broken almost immediately, so I had to deal with the convicts by fisting them, which almost got me killed after fighting about 2 of them, so I lured the rest over to the NCR so that they could finish the job for me. With most of Prim cleared out, I went into the Nash residence where I got a absolute godsend set of luck by finding a rolling pin in one of the mailboxes. It's, a rolling pin, so I wasn't that excited, but, it's a weapon. Okay, I'm happy with it for now. But God, is it awful. It's so bad, man. It's a rolling pin, I'm practically beating people with a stick at this point. I set out for Mojave Outpost so that I could repair my rolling pin, which cost a whopping 16 caps. At this point, I had sold stuff and amassed around 60, so I had enough to repair it for a little while. I then set out for Nipton because I was, gonna check around there for mailboxes, and shoved my big wooden stick up Oliver Swanwick's ass and got another absolute godsend for an item. I found a crowbar. The crowbar is actually a really solid weapon, so I was going to be using that as my main weapon for the majority of the run since I didn't find anything else until way later on. I booped a couple raiders on my way to Novak to test out the crowbar just to see how good it is, which I was surprised that it wasn't actually that terrible, and then made my way over to the Gibson scrapyard because I wanted to repair the crowbar. At this point, I wasn't sure how much it would cost, but it was only around 50 caps to repair it to about 80%. I then tested it out by smacking some more raiders in the face on my way to the strip. It was honestly not that hard to deal with the raiders at this point, as the crowbar was a lot more damaging than I was expecting, so I was pleasantly surprised that I wasn't going to suffer too much this run. I also tested it out on some ants, which died in about 2 hits, as well as fought some more vipers on my way to the strip. On my way, I went ahead and discovered the 188 trading post because I would use it as a fast travel point later on, and then because I'm playing New Vegas, I of course got noob-tubed. I can't go one Fallout video without getting my limbs blown off by an explosive. It's not humanly possible. So after finding a bed nearby that I could sleep in, which was a godsend as I was crippled and didn't feel like wobbling around, I actually found a couple mailboxes near the NCR sharecropper farms. Of course, they were empty, so I just went into Freeside, which was actually pretty quiet this run. Nothing really bothered me other than the occasional Freeside thug, but those are pretty normal. None of the mailboxes in Freeside had anything either, so I took my rage out on the nearby thugs because I was mad at not getting anything. I offed Old Ben as per usual, and then realized I had no way to get into the strip, so I started wailing on the Securitrons so that I could get the key to get into the strip. The Securitrons were a lot stronger than I was expecting, they did a lot more damage than I was expecting, and I know I looted right there at the beginning of that clip, but I promise I didn't keep any of those items as I promptly died afterwards, and the second time around I used VATS to make the Securitron die a little bit easier and just picked up the key that time so that I didn't inadvertently fail the run. Inside, I got lit up by the Securitrons again, so I hobbled my way into Gamora, where I didn't kill the Omertas because I had about 40 health left at this point, and went to go find a bed that I could sleep in so that I could regenerate my HP. When I went off to the tops, I found a dead NCR body here for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why there was a dead NCR trooper here. I found multiple NCR troopers dead here, actually. I dealt with Benny through the power of sex, and he showed me his power of levitation, which was highly unsettling, so I picked up the platinum chip, killed Vulpus outside because, you know, it's Vulpus. It's not a Fallout video unless I kill him and get noob-tubed. Went off to go deal with the Securitron upgrade video from Mr. House. Kinda feels like I'm sitting through science class watching one of those stupid educational videos whenever I have to deal with that. Went off to repair some items and then headed off to deal with some more convicts in Prim because I kind of remembered that there was a few more mailboxes over there that I hadn't checked yet. It was at this point that I found the almighty butter knife, which at this point I was 100% going to be dedicating a video to later on. It's a butter knife. I mean, look at it. I have to play through the game with that weapon. I have to play through Lonesome Road with that weapon. I'm obligated. But back to the task at hand, I went to go ahead and stop by Nipton again to hopefully get some more items, possibly even some healing items, and got ambushed by raiders, which I just let the Legion deal with. I also almost died when I decided to commit animal abuse with the butter knife. I'm not sure why the Bighorners did that much damage to me, but it was pretty terrifying, so I left off with that and headed over towards Cottonwood Cove. I also decided to kill a ghoul with the butter knife to test and see how reliable it was. It does a lot of damage really fast, but it's, you know, a butter knife, so I'm sure that it'll be more difficult later on when I actually do a video around it. I made it to Cottonwood Cove without any more issues for the most part, and didn't actually decide to slaughter everyone here because I actually needed in the fort this time. The fort was pretty quiet. I didn't really do much here of note other than talk to some bald cancer patient, and after that I went off to deal with the bunker for Mr. House. Down here was pretty standard. The crowbar still does a whole lot of damage. I think by this point I had it up to about 23 damage, which is really solid for a melee weapon, so I breezed my way through the bunker to upgrade the whole Securitron army, and then headed off to deal with the boomers. I fisted some chem addict in the ass. I of course treated George with the absolute utmost respect that I could muster on my way into the boomers' camp. Once I had finished up with George, I used my tried and true tactic of yeeting myself over the wall to go in and talk to the boomers early without dealing with the dialogue. I booped Pearl, and she fell over like an old lady with a hip issue. Loyal was fairly annoying to kill. He had a lot more health than I was expecting, actually, which was kind of weird. I also killed Emily Ortel, and then subsequently forgot to record dealing with the Omertas, but I just walked in and killed 3 of them, so it wasn't that big of a deal. The Brotherhood I was dealing with diplomatically this time. There is no way in hell I can do the Brotherhood without healing items. That is just not humanly possible with the amount of damage they do and the fact that I only have leather armor. Also, for some reason, Ranger Dobson wasn't here. I never seen that before, which was kind of weird. But back to the Brotherhood, I just stole keycards, set the bunker to self-destruct, and got out of there because, again, not dealing with the Brotherhood. So with the Brotherhood out of the way, I went back to Mr. House to talk to him again, and headed off to the Eldorado substation, where I got ambushed by a Legion hit squad, right next to the NCR. I didn't deal with them at all. I just went over and committed war crimes and violated the Geneva Convention by bullying soldiers with a crowbar and committing brutalities, which I'm pretty sure definitely violates the Geneva Convention when you hit sleeping soldiers to death, but, you know, I digress. I figured, you know, getting some stuff repaired at Old Lady Gibson before I head off to the Second Battle of Hoover Dam would be a good idea, but boy oh boy was I wrong. I got assaulted by some mercenaries here for some reason who knocked out most of my HP almost instantly, and I actually died a couple times because there was more waiting for me outside. So through the power of cannibalism, I survived the encounter and then headed off to the Second Battle of Hoover Dam. Nothing here was special for the most part. I let the NCR and the Great Khans kind of battle it out until I killed the survivors because I wasn't going to waste any of my health that wasn't necessary. The heavy troopers inside weren't much of a struggle. They didn't really get to even hit me for the most part. I also cannibalized them and some other legionaries that were, you know, in the way. Went off to power up the dam so that the Securitron army would be powered up and ready to go for the fight towards the fort, which I also ran past pretty much everything and just let the Securitrons deal with it because I had 0 healing items, and 0 healing items would make the Legates fight even harder. The guards were pretty much pushovers as usual. At this point, I had taken the Super Slam perk, so pretty much everything got knocked over immediately. I convinced the Legate to fight me one-on-one, The first couple times did not go so well. He does a whole lot of damage, and I died probably 7 or 8 times here before finally getting a run where I was able to knock him down before he knocked me down, which, you know, that subsequently kept him down for most of the fight and allowed me to kill him, which was a godsend. I was not wanting to spend an hour there. So when General Oliver arrived, I pretty much just goaded him into fighting me by pissing him off, and then ran around the corner so that the Securitrons could deal with the NCR. As you can see, I lost about half my health in just a few seconds there, so I just let the Securitrons deal with it, and with that, I beat Fallout New Vegas with only items from the mailbox. This run was really, really fun. Kind of awkward and weird, but really fun nonetheless. Anyways, thank you guys so much for the support lately. We hit 600 subs. We were at 500 just a couple days ago, so this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much. As always, leave any suggestions in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.